Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and today we're going to take a break from doing the River Trent and bridges and focus on something in the air. Now if you didn't see what that was landing, that was this guy on his parachute, and he's part of the set Parachute Arrest, that's 60208. That's a set from this year, 2019, with 218 pieces, and it retails for £25 or $40, though it's only £16 on Amazon at the moment. I don't know if it's not selling. Anyway, I got one because that's an amazing deal in my opinion, especially for something so much fun that reminds me of toys I used to have in my childhood. I used to spend absolutely ages playing with an Action Force SAS man who had a parachute very similar to this, with the fabric, and I remember dropping him from the stairs in the hall, upstairs hall, time and time again, and enjoying him descending smoothly. So I was very keen when I saw this set being released for 2019 to get one. There's also another set from the Sky Police range, which is the sort of Sky Police airport headquarters type thing, and that's got another parachute, which is a much more drab grey, and that also is just as good, presumably, but this one I really like because it was orange, and I think that colour is just a lot more interesting. So when it was available in such a small set, it just became a no-brainer for me. I just had to get it. Now, there was one hitch in that journey that some of the reviews I saw, including from Jang, sort of had quite a negative opinion on this parachute, saying that it didn't particularly work that well. And I think, maybe from a child's perspective, tossing it from sort of 3 or 4 feet in the air, maybe it's not very good. But if you perfect the technique of throwing it up in the air first before it sort of starts its descent, and also do it where you've got an extra story, so I always do it over the stairs so you can drop it for the height of 2 stories, then I think it does a really good show of bringing our man down to earth safely. I mean, I'm sorry, but it really brings out the child in me. I think it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm glad I've got a different opinion on this to Jang, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. But as much fun as I've had chucking it down my stairs, I think I want to incorporate it in my city now. So that set had 4 elements. First of all was an ATV, sort of all-terrain vehicle, sort of quad bike thing, which I've just put into parts already. The second was a police bike, which I'm going to use just as a white motorbike for my city because I've already got enough police bikes, quite frankly. And the other 2 pieces were these 2. The plane, a jet. I mean, it's a police jet, and maybe the police don't really actually have jets. The only people that really have a jet that pretty much look like this would be the military, presumably. But I don't mind it. It's not too bad. Sky Police is quite an interesting idea, I think, and it's a bit of variety in the skies. And I think this plane looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, it looks a bit like the, is it the Raptor, the new American fighter jet that also has the vertical takeoff version? Anyway, I think it looks pretty much like that, and I think it's very sleek indeed. So I'm a big fan. I was considering getting the air show set from a few years back, just for their jets. One of those sort of looks more like a Eurofighter or Typhoon type sort of thing. And but this is really good as well, so I like this. And it's got the new style pilot in there with his breathing apparatus, and he looks very determined with his expression. So yeah, I think this is an absolutely great set. So that's good. It does have a play feature, this sort of hook on the back. I'm less keen on that because the speed jets go, even at their slowest stall speed, this would probably rip apart whatever it touched. Also, you'd have to go so low, it wouldn't be very safe, so it's not very realistic, but hey ho, it's part of the play feature for children after all. But the real star of the set is this guy. Not just because he's attached to the parachute, which is so similar to the ones I've enjoyed in my childhood, but also because he reminds me of the story of D.B. Cooper. Now, if you don't know, it's a really good story. Basically, in 1971, a man booking a ticket on an aeroplane, a commercial passenger jet, under the name of D.B. Cooper, between Portland and Seattle, after ordering a bourbon, gave a note to the stewardess saying that he had a bomb and that he wanted $200,000 in cash. Now, she didn't believe him at first, and he showed her a bag with a bomb in it, and so they took it very seriously from then on. He was very calm. He had another bourbon on the rest of the journey. Then when they landed, they took off all the passengers, and they gave him some parachutes. They gave him his $200,000 in cash, and they refueled the plane. Now, the $200,000 is worth about $1.2 million in today's money, so it's well worth having. And he set the same plane back off with just the crew on board now, south towards Mexico. And when they landed, which because they needed to refuel again on that long journey in Reno, I think it was, in Nevada, basically he wasn't on the plane anymore. So clearly he had jumped using the parachutes. But this was at night time, so it was very, very risky jump. Now, the thing is that they thought he must be very experienced or in the military, but he's never been caught. And it's the only example of piracy, air piracy, I think they call it, in United States history that's never been solved. So it's become a bit of a sort of cult myth that D.B. Cooper's out there with his ill-gotten gains, or maybe he didn't survive the fall, but nobody's ever been found. So anyway, I really encourage you to look at the Wikipedia entry or so on, and you can see pictures of him and the wanted poster that the FBI put out and so on, as I said, in 1971. So it's a really good story. So I just think that this guy, with his parachute, with this lovely sort of raven, I suppose it is, or blackbird or something like that on the back, and his two big packs of money, is just exactly what I think of when I think of D.B. Cooper. So although this set's called Parachute Arrest in real life, I'm going to call it Parachute Escape because D.B. Cooper gets away. Now, there's very little amendments I need to make to the plane, which I'm going to hang from the ceiling, but I am going to get rid of the play feature because we'll be able to see this plane from underneath because it'll be quite high up and I don't really want this spoiling it. I'm also going to take off the landing gear because it will be in flight and therefore it will have its landing gear retracted on this sort of a plane. Then I'm going to take off that just to fill up the hole which accommodated the hook. I haven't got a 4x6 plate, so I'm just going to use 4 2x3 plates to fill in that hole. I'll probably move one of these just to secure that a bit. There we go. Right, so that is literally all the amendments I'm going to make to this plane, but I'm going to have to hang it, so I'm going to use some of my trusty fishing line to find the right place to hang this from to make it not tip forward or back or too much side to side, because I want this one pretty much flying flat. And I'm going to hang this behind the red passenger jet that I've got already hanging in my city over the harbour. And that's the plane that I'm going to assume that D.B. Cooper's jumped from. And this jet will be one of the real-life jets that was trailing the aircraft, as part of security. So we will recreate history. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and attach this, work out what sort of length I need and so on, and then we can move on to my changes to DB himself. Okay, so I've put a loop of wire through the back of this plane. So when I lift it, it stays nice and flat. So that's good. So I can attach that to my ceiling. And as always, I will do that using command strips. In this case, I'll just use the decorating clip size that are very small. That'll easily support one of these. And it's just a little clear clip with a double-sided sticky on the back. And if you're careful removing them, they don't do any damage to your ceiling. So that will stick to the ceiling like that. And I'll just be able to hook that wire on and it will support it. So that's that side of things sorted. Now as for Lego DB, the man himself doesn't need any amendments, but the parachute does because, well, if it's sort of suspended from the ceiling by just a cable, it'll look like that. It won't look very much like it's descending. So I need something to kind of bulk it up, because when you drop it, the air obviously fills it up and it becomes quite a round mass. So this is where a piece from one of my recent brick hauls comes in, that some people were very curious as to what I was going to use it for. And it is half of the planet Tatooine from Lego Star Wars. So I got this one because it's the closest in colour, so it shouldn't show through too much. And I'm going to use that underneath there because there's a hole in the fabric and there's a hole in the planet as well to kind of support the shape of an open parachute. So how I'm going to do that is just with a simple spare round brick and another piece of fishing line. Now this is just a straight bit with a loop at one end. I don't know if you can see that. So I've just done one with a slip knot so I can open it and attach it to something else. In this case, my red passenger jet. I'm going to loop this over one of the wing engines and then, he can hang a bit lower from that. So what I'm going to do is pass this through the hole in the parachute, through the hole in the planet. So it's sticking through like that. It's under my thumb. Let's get it so it's a bit longer. There we go. And then just secure that in place. And then we have, not perfect, but a lot better, an open parachute. So all that remains now is for me to attach this plane escorting my passenger jet and Lego DB Cooper hanging from the plane itself. And I think I'll create a little scene at the passenger door where he's let himself out and maybe there's a distraught crew member sort of looking out, having been under a recent bomb threat. So that'll be good. Right, so let's go up to the Lego room. Here's the scene at the passenger plane door with an air stewardess who's just been part of a air piracy crime, looking out of the open door that our DB Cooper has just leaped out of. As I said, that's part of the red jet that I'd done on a couple of previous videos. And I've added, as you can see up there, that command clip that will take the cord from the jet. So the next thing is to hang it on there so it's tailing this, and to hang DB, I think, from this engine here. And there's the police jet hanging on the clip and flanking the airliner, with stewardess out of the door and hanging from the engine is Lego DB Cooper. Fantastic. Here's the same scene from lower down. There's DB on his parachute, made out of the Tatooine piece. He's just jumped out of the red jet with distressed air stewardess, and that's being flanked by the police jet. And presumably he's going to land somewhere in the harbour. So quite a small thing, but I think well integrated into a busy city. It's something different, isn't it? So as always, thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I think we'll be heading back to the River Trent. We'll be doing the rest of the river and adding a pedestrian bridge as well alongside the existing road bridge. See you then!